Welcome to this session on Kubernetes high availability and multi-master setup. In this video, we'll explore how to configure highly available control planes for production environments. High availability is a critical requirement for any production Kubernetes cluster, ensuring your applications remain operational even when infrastructure components fail. Let's dive into the world of multi-master configurations and learn how to build resilient Kubernetes clusters. Before we get into the technical details, let's understand why high availability matters. In a single master setup, if that master node fails, your entire cluster becomes inoperable. High availability solves this by providing zero downtime when a master fails, as other masters continue handling requests. It ensures fault tolerance through automatic failover mechanisms. For production environments, this is essential to meet enterprise service level agreement requirements. Additionally, distributing API server load across multiple nodes improves scalability and performance under high traffic conditions. A high availability architecture consists of three main layers. At the top, we have a load balancer that distributes incoming traffic across multiple API servers. This ensures no single API server becomes a bottleneck. The middle layer contains multiple control plane nodes, each running its own API server, scheduler, and controller manager. These components work together to manage the cluster. At the foundation, we have a clustered etc. deployment. Etc. is a distributed key-value store that maintains all cluster state data and uses quorum consensus to ensure data consistency across nodes. This three-layer architecture eliminates single points of failure. Kubernetes offers two topology options for high availability deployments. The first option is stacked etc., where etc. runs on the same nodes as the control plane components. This approach is simpler to set up and requires fewer nodes, making it cost-effective. The second option is external etc., where the etc. cluster runs on separate dedicated nodes. This provides better isolation between etc. and control plane components, and offers more fault tolerance since control plane failures don't affect etc. The choice between these depends on your requirements for isolation, fault tolerance, and infrastructure resources. The load balancer is a crucial component in high availability setups. It must be a Layer 4 TCP load balancer configured for API server port 6443. Health checks are essential to automatically detect and remove failed control plane nodes from the rotation. Common options include HA proxy, NGINX, or cloud provider load balancers. An important consideration is that the load balancer itself should be highly available. Using a single load balancer creates a new single point of failure, so consider deploying redundant load balancers or using managed load balancing services. Configuring etc. correctly is fundamental to cluster reliability. Etc. uses a quorum-based consensus algorithm, which means you should always use an odd number of nodes, 3, 5, or 7. This ensures proper majority consensus for decision-making. For most production clusters, 3 nodes is the recommended configuration, as it can tolerate one node failure while maintaining quorum. More nodes provide higher availability but increase write latency. A critical requirement is low-latency network connectivity between etc. members, as the Raft consensus algorithm requires fast communication to maintain consistency and elect leaders efficiently. Let's look at initializing the first control plane node using kubeadm. The init command requires several important parameters. The control plane endpoint flag specifies your load balancer's DNS name and port. This is critical because all nodes will use this address. The upload certs flag automatically uploads certificates to the cluster, making it easier to join additional master nodes. The pod network CIDR defines the IP address range for pods and must match your chosen CNI plugin requirements. After running this command, save the output carefully. It contains the join command and certificate key needed for adding more masters. Note that the certificate key is only valid for 2 hours for security reasons. Let's break down these initialization parameters in detail. The control plane endpoint is the load balancer address that all cluster components will use to communicate with the API server. This ensures traffic is distributed across all masters. The upload certs parameter automatically uploads control plane certificates to a secret in the cluster. This allows new control plane nodes to download these certificates during the join process, simplifying multi-master setup. The pod network CIDR parameter specifies the IP address range that will be assigned to pods. Different CNI plugins have different CIDR requirements, so consult your CNI documentation before choosing this value. After the first master is initialized, joining additional master nodes is straightforward. Use the kubeadm join command with the load balancer DNS and port. Include the token and discovery token CA certificate hash from the init output for authentication. The control plane flag indicates this node should join as a master, not a worker. The certificate key, also from the init output, allows this node to download the control plane certificates. Remember to repeat this process on each additional master node you want to add. After joining, verify the new masters are functioning by checking node status and control plane pod health. Let's wrap up with essential production best practices. Always use a minimum of 3 control plane nodes to ensure proper fault tolerance and quorum. This provides resilience against single node failures. Implement automated etcetera backups regularly, as etcetera contains all cluster state, and losing this data means losing your entire cluster configuration. Deploy your load balancer with redundancy to avoid creating a new single point of failure. Finally, continuously monitor control plane component health using metrics and alerting systems. This allows you to detect and respond to issues before they impact cluster availability. Following these practices ensures your Kubernetes cluster remains reliable and production-ready.
If you like this video, hit that like button and don't forget to subscribe. Visit codelucky.com for more such useful content.